Let's talk about our favorite handcuffs next on Fantasy Football Today in 5. Welcome to FFT in 5. I'm Chris Towers. I'm here with Heath Cummings, and we're talking about handcuffs at the running back position. And Heath, I think the classic definition of the handcuff is just the backup to a really good running back. But I think that definition doesn't actually help us all that much when we're drafting our teams, because you have to identify the right situations. You have to identify the right talents. An example of that would be like the Cincinnati Bengals last year. Joe Mixon missed a couple games. Samaje Perine filled in and was pretty much a top 12 running back for both of the games that Joe Mixon missed. That's not always a guarantee. We've seen Christian McCaffrey miss time. And, I think 3 years ago, Mike Davis was really good. And then 2 years ago when he missed time, Chuba Hubbard wasn't really the must-start guy we hoped he would be. So it's often tough to identify it. And I'll just throw out a guy that I'm really starting to talk myself into, and I'm not even sure he counts as a handcuff because he might just be the starter in Philadelphia, but he's going 50 picks behind DeAndre Swift, and that's Rashad Penny, who, yes, we know he can't stay healthy, all of that. He's coming off the broken fibula from last season. The thing about Rashad Penny is, one, I think he's just a better fit for this Philadelphia offense because he's just a fantastic rusher. DeAndre Swift has a lot of skills as a pass catcher, as a playmaker, but as a pure runner, probably isn't on the same level as Rashad Penny. And, he got the first rep with the first team. That's always nice to see at training camp, even if it doesn't actually mean all that much. But I just think there's a chance that we get into week one and Rashad Penny is the Miles Sanders in this offense, not DeAndre Swift. What do you think of that?
Well, I think that would preclude him from being the best handcuff if he is.
Well, yeah, he's being drafted in the handcuffy range. So I'm kind of cheating here.
The most difficult part about this exercise is the way the position and the usage has changed over the years. We have so many more backfields that are 60-40 or 65-35 between two guys. But there were a couple of guys that popped up for me that do have small roles that I think could be really fantastic if the lead guy gets hurt. One of them, kind of similar to Penny, Elijah Mitchell, has a hard time staying healthy himself. But I think if Christian McCaffrey gets hurt, we should all expect Elijah Mitchell is going to get 20 touches a game until he gets hurt. And so Mitchell would probably be at the top. And again, another guy who's, I think, being drafted after Penny and pretty certainly behind McCaffrey, even if he's going to have 8 to 10 touches in games that McCaffrey plays. The other one probably in a similar touch range when the starter's healthy, and that's Jaylen Warren, who was just flat out better at almost everything than Najee Harris last year. And there's been some talk this summer that they are going to get in the ball more.
Yeah, there was also, I think around week 6 or week 7, there was a Mike Tomlin quote that, hey, we've got to get this guy the ball more. And I think Najee Harris's role only increased after that point. So that was really frustrating. I'll throw out another guy that feels like a classic handcuff, but there's a chance that he ends up pushing for a bigger role from week 1 and beyond is Zach Charbonnet, the second-round pick for the Seattle Seahawks. Obviously, Kenneth Walker had a very good rookie season, but there were some flaws in the profile. He was kind of boom or bust as a runner. He would get 2 yards, and then 55 yards. He was that kind of player. And I actually don't mind that if it means he's going to stay the starter. The concern is Zach Charbonnet being a second-round pick the year after Kenneth Walker was picked. Does that mean that they're unhappy with Kenneth Walker? Does that mean that Zach Charbonnet has a chance to usurp Kenneth Walker? Those are the questions that make me a little wary of Kenneth Walker. But if anything happens to Kenneth Walker, I think Zach Charbonnet is well situated to be a potential top 12 running back in Seattle.
Yeah, I think he's better at all the things that Ken Walker's not particularly good at. He's a much, much better pass-catching profiler than Walker does. I would expect he's going to be better in short yardage, partially because of the size, partially because boom-bust backs are not generally very good in short yardage. So it might be a situation by the end of the year that Ken Walker stays healthy and Charbonnet is still getting the most important touches in the offense. I'll go from a rookie to a guy who's probably going to be backing up a rookie, and that's Tyler Algier. He was remarkable in the second half last year behind a Falcons run offense that was surprisingly good. And I think if something happens to Bijan, let's hope it doesn't, then Algier would be in a situation where he's getting 15 to 20 touches and probably a top 20 running back.
Yeah, that's another interesting situation because I do wonder what they're going to do with Cordero Patterson as well. He's been very effective when he's been able to be used in a limited role more specifically. So I wonder if we're going to see a little more creativity there, and there are going to be 3 running backs getting work in Atlanta. It's going to be really interesting to see. I would guess Bijan Robinson's just going to be the guy, but there's at least a path there. And one more before we go. It's kind of similar to Zach Charbonnet, but Tank Bixby, 3rd-round pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars, might be another situation where he just complements Travis Etienne. He might take on a little more of the inside the tackles and short yardage stuff. And the question there is, does Travis Etienne's passing game role grow? Does Tank Bixby have an opportunity there? But that's a situation where if anything happens to Travis Etienne, I do think Tank Bixby would be a very, very good fantasy option. And Travis Etienne already did miss a full season with an injury. So that's something to keep in mind as you're drafting both of those guys. But Tank Bixby absolutely should be on your radar around the 100th pick and after in your drafts. And that's going to do it for FFT and 5. We'll see you tomorrow.